Now, I'm pretty sure you'll recognise this. This is the Mennan Toll, which is a weird Neolithic structure in southwest Cornwall, where I grew up, in Penwith near Madron. And I've been to this location many, many times. All of my childhood, I went there so many times. And quite near to that, you've got lots of other Neolithic sites, like this is Lanyon Quoit, which is a dolmen. And there's quite a few quoits in Cornwall, quite a few dolmens. This is just one of them. This is Lanyon. It's one of the biggest and it's one of the best known. But just on the hill nearby, you've got Tune Quoit. And there are loads of others. And everywhere you go in that part of Cornwall, whether it's West Penwith or whether it's the Lizard, there are stone circles like this one. This is the Merry Maidens near Lamorna. Or there are standing stones like this one, the Men Scrifer. And the Pipers. And there's just standing stones, stone structures everywhere you go in Cornwall. And they were very much a part of the landscape of my childhood. Now, over the years, I've taken lots and lots of photographs of these things, and I've done drawings of them, and I've even done a few paintings. And just recently, I got the urge to do another painting, but a little bit different. Now, dolmens came back into my life a few weeks ago when I was reading a news story all about Carwinin Quoit, which is a quoit, a dolmen that collapsed a long, long time ago. This is what it looked like most of the time, and then was resurrected in 2014. And I was looking at the photographs of the reconstructed quoit, which is near Camborne, and there was one particular photograph by a guy called Tony Howell, which just suddenly struck me. And the angle he'd got it at was such that it looked like the stone was barely touching the upright. And I suddenly had an idea. What if I painted a dolmen of some description, but with the capstone just slightly floating above the uprights? I don't know what inspired it. I really don't. I think maybe it was some doodles in an old doodle pad, which I've got here. But either way, I knew I had to do this. So out came the sketchbook and I started getting some ideas down. So the first thing I did, something I learned a long time ago from one of my art teachers, was to get rid of the white. So paint your canvas with a colour. Now, something I've always found is if you paint something a sort of reddish orange, it kind of warms the whole thing up. Even though you're putting other colours on top, it kind of warms the whole picture. And the other thing it kind of unifies the colours that you use as well. I don't know quite how that works, but it does. I think because it sort of slightly shines through, even if you're using something like gouache, which is, you know, fairly opaque. And so that's what I did. I painted it all orange. Then I did an underpainting. The actual sketch I did in pencil, then I did an underpainting. And I started putting on the paint. Now, it did go through a few changes over time. You know, the stones started to change shape, quite often just because of a slip of the brush. You know, I ended up changing the shape of the stones. And when I'd finally thought I was getting close to finishing it, I realised I didn't like the shape of the capstone at all, so I had to change the shape of the capstone. But overall, for a first attempt, and considering it's the first time I picked up a paintbrush in a few years, I'm actually quite pleased with it. And we're done. What do you think? I quite like it, I have to say, I quite like it. Anyway, I've got some more planned, and I'll keep you posted on this channel. Meanwhile, let's go for a dog walk. And he is so noisy. Anyway, let's go for a dog walk, and my beard will mysteriously get longer because I did the dog walking filming first, then had a beard trim before this bit. I'm completely overdressed. I'm actually starting to sweat now because I put on my usual fleece and a scarf and a hat, and I've come out here and it's about 16 degrees and the sun is blazing. It's wonderful. This is what we want spring to be like. Well, the birds are singing, the squirrels are running around like nut jobs, and all's well with the world. There's new life coming up everywhere. There's crocuses and snowdrops and brand new nettles and dead nettles and fresh grass and cuckoo pint. Everything's looking lovely, really, really lovely. Oh, first wild daff of the year. Just opened by the looks of it. There we go. And in the background, crocuses and snowdrops still up. And Harris is going to pee on all of them. Beautiful, beautiful mosses and lichen on this elder tree. Aren't they glorious? I mean, look at it. I've photographed this before. I mean, I've called this a Muppet tree because it kind of looks like it's furry and green. But it's just so beautiful. Look. Just look at it. It's just gorgeous. Trying to get the focus is a bit more difficult with your phone, but yeah, absolutely wonderful. Wait a minute. I say Muppet tree. Is Muppetry a thing? I mean, if you operate puppets, it's puppetry. It's operating Muppets, Muppetry. Am I in breach of copyright? I can just see Kermit now. Yay, litigation! More hazel catkins, a lot of hazel catkins on this particular tree. Being serenaded by the sound of birdsong and distant chainsaws. I don't know what's going on, but the birdsong's phenomenal. Why are you so tired? Oh, you ran around with that big dog, didn't you? That's why. I don't know. Will you ever learn? You're not a greyhound. So many crocuses. It's actually quite difficult to walk here without stepping on them. There's so many. It's lovely. Lots more crocuses, and of course the bit in the middle, the yellow bits, some of those are what we call saffron. One of the most expensive spices there is. And here it is, all just growing wild. It is an extraordinary year for crocuses. This is someone's front lawn. Well, look. It's an amazing year for crocuses this year. Now, in amongst all these little things coming up here, there's lots and lots of cleavers. Now, cleavers you may know as the sticky plant, or sticky willy, or that thing that you used to throw on your mate's back when you were walking home from school. There's quite a bed of it coming up over there, look, just down there. Yeah, see? And when it gets bigger and it gets those little sticky hooks on the body of it, it's great fun to play with. And of course later on it'll produce little flowers, and then it'll produce little sticky burrs, little round balls with sticky bits on that stick to your clothes as well. Well, what you may not realise is that cleavers are edible. They are. I mean, yeah, you wouldn't want to put one in your mouth and chew it raw because you're going to scratch your inside of your mouth and your tongue raw. But like a lot of things, once you cook them, a bit like nettles, all the little cellulose hooks and things like that all melt away, all disappear, and what you're left with is something that wilts down rather like spinach. I'm not saying it's the finest vegetable in the world, but it's free food. What I tend to do is actually make cleaver water. But what I do is I take, or cleavers water I should say, because it's a curious thing, they sound like they're a plural, but they're actually called cleavers. You know, it's the same thing that happened a few years ago in the English language, because the vegetable that we now call a pea was actually called a peas. That's where peas pudding comes from. And what we did was we back created the idea of that being a plural and created the singular of a pea. Well, it's the same with cleavers. The actual plant is called cleavers, but we tend to regard them as a cleaver and several cleavers as a result, just because of the way the language evolved. But anyway, I digress. Cleavers, if you bruise a few stems and soak them in water overnight, and then filter it out and yeah, stick it through a sieve, and then water it in your fridge, deliciously refreshing. It tastes like sort of cucumber water, and it's really, really nice, and it's full of nutrients and minerals, and very easy way to use cleavers, singular. So there you go, that's it for this week. I'm going to go and plot out a couple more paintings. And in the meantime, if you like this video and you want to see more, then please like, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the very next one. Toodle pip. It's a very noisy bird.